Hey, this is Bishop TK, and it is time for our weekly podcast. Listen, I did a little excavating in my soul today, and I said, what can I share with the women from my life? Not something that I read in a book, not something that I've seen on TV, not something that I just tweak and recreate in my mind from someone else's experience. But what can I share from my life that I believe will be helpful for the women that listen to this podcast? Well, when I began to dig, I have to say that I truly miss my mother's voice. Now, I had 3 mothers in my life that were very essential. They molded me in so many different ways. I had my spiritual mother, who was a phenomenon in her lifetime. I had my actual birth mother, who was my example of strength and perseverance. And then I had my grandmother, who shared with me maternal love and strength in my femininity. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about my experience with my grandmother, who I called Meemaw. My children called her Meemaw, or I called her affectionately Mommy. Well, one day I was at the house for a family event, and I was dating someone who would later on become the father of all 3 of my children, and my ex-husband. I was there at a family event, and she said something to me that still sits in my soul. Somewhere it settled. Even though at the time I rejected the information, I still hear it today. And we were getting ready to leave the family event, but he was ready to leave at that moment. And so he made sort of an edgy comment. And my mommy, Mimo, the lady boss that I knew, she made this comment, and she said, after hearing his comment, she says, Tanya, I don't like who you've become to be with him. Now, that at the time, I was gathering my things and I was, moving hastily, and my grandmother wasn't used to me responding that way. And she said to me, she says, Tanya, I don't like who you are with him. And I rejected it at the moment, because what my grandmother did not know is that I was having these anxiety moments of not having children, and my biological clock was ticking, and I didn't want to be in my 40s having my first child. And I had dated, I had ran around, I played around. And so that's where I wanted to settle. But my grandmother saw that I was sacrificing something to be with this guy. And the one thing that she saw me sacrificing is her impartation of strength and self-knowing and self-esteem. She saw that what she had put in me from a child up until the age of 27, she saw that her work was being unraveled by the pulling of a string. And that string was, I was ready to be a mom. And so I saw myself giving up things that I would normally give up. I began to sacrifice my own identity to be in that place. And it wasn't until I heard my grandmother's voice at the time. I heard it, but I rejected it immediately. And when I got in the car, there was a small conversation about my grandmother's attitude. And I just sat there quietly, because I knew what she was saying was true. But I was willing to sacrifice that truth to build my reality. This is not going to be a very long podcast, but I hope that it is impactful. So my question to you today is, Have you ever sacrificed the wisdom, the truth, to go after what you felt like you can mold and attain and make it your own? After years of marriage and 3 beautiful, beautiful, creative, incredible kids, I found myself coming back to my identity, which is what she put inside of me, which was to be strong, to follow the light in front of you, to become all that God had intended you to be. My mother, my maternal mom, my natural mom, we called her affectionately Momo. She said something to me on her deathbed, lying on my sofa, on her back. And she says, Tanya, I have regrets. And I said, Mommy, what are your regrets? And she says that I let somebody take the best years of my life, waiting for him to commit. Now, without sharing all of my mom's personal business, because I wouldn't dare do such, that stung and that stayed with me. I can give you so many quotes that those mothers, those women said to me that have molded me to be who I am. And it makes me look at my past, and it makes me govern my decisions to a place where I don't want to die with regrets, and I don't want to ignore that truth. That truth will nag you until you either accept it or close an iron door on it to ever listen to it. But eventually that truth boomerangs back to the forefront of your face, and it will slap you right in the face and say, I told you, Tanya, this is not your truth. Man, you look at older women and you say, oh, mommy, I got this. Don't worry about that. And when my grandmother said that to me, I rejected it immediately, because I said, girl, you ain't got the perfect marriage. How you gonna school me? Mine is gonna be different. And I, with all of my arrogance and my honorary place, I even said that to her. I said, Mommy, mine is gonna be different. But what I did not understand at the time is that my grandmother was not laying out a playbook for me to follow because she was living the perfect life. She was actually sharing with me areas where she wished she would have made a different decision. And she did not want me to go down that same road. But lo and behold, me with all of my arrogance and all of my pride went down that same path because I rejected my mother's voice. My mommy was not perfect, but my mom had lived enough life where she could express her deepest concerns and thoughts with me in hope that I would take that wisdom and hold it near and dear to my heart. So even today, those words, they keep me. Those words keep me from falling into that shallow water expecting to swim. You cannot, my grandmother would say all the time, she'd say, Tanya Lynn, you cannot take a jackass and put it in the Kentucky Derby. I have so many sayings that they said to me, and it was all for the hope that I would have a quality life with fewer mistakes than what they experienced. So I'm going to encourage you today and tell you that your mother's voice has truth and wisdom mixed all together. And your mother's voice is not coming from a perfect place, but your mother's voice is coming from a place of experience that says, I don't want my baby to go through the same thing. Now, when I talk to my daughter, I share some of the very same wisdom with her. It's not that I'm saying, baby girl, do as I do. No, it's do as I say, because I didn't do what my mommy told me to. I know sometimes, baby, you think you have this whole life under lock, key, and control. But in essence, it was the voice of our mothers that made us the women that we are today. I thank God for my mama, all three of them, for the wisdom that they share with me. The richness of that wisdom is what I hold near and dear to my heart today. So I say to you, trust your mama, girl. Don't you dare let those words hit the ground. She can see further than you. And with all of that advice mixed together, guess what? You got it. It's only up from here. Make it a good one.